There's a hidden force within all of us that often goes unnoticed, a subtle shadow that quietly controls much of our energy, behavior, and even how we see ourselves. Many people walk through life unaware that what they consider their personality might actually be a complex set of survival strategies formed to protect them from pain, rejection, or fear. Think about it. How often do you find yourself reacting emotionally in ways that surprise or frustrate you? Maybe you get defensive when someone gives you feedback, or you find yourself caught in patterns of anxiety or anger that seem automatic and unstoppable. These reactions are not just random. They are signals that this shadow part is still running the show. But what if what you call normal, your usual way of being, is actually a form of escape? Not a sign of true strength or freedom, but a defense mechanism that keeps you locked in survival mode. This shadow is like an invisible puppeteer. It pulls strings behind the scenes, guiding your thoughts, emotions, and actions without your conscious permission. Its power lies in its ability to disguise itself as your authentic self. This is who you are, when in fact, it's a mask crafted by fear, pain, and conditioning. The good news, and this is crucial, is that this shadow's grip is not permanent. It can be weakened and even released, but only if you become aware of it. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door. Once you start noticing these unconscious patterns, the shadow loses its hold. That's why today we're going to explore 10 clear signs that indicate you are beginning to reclaim your energy, that the shadow is no longer controlling you from behind the curtain. These signs are subtle, yet powerful. They reveal progress even if you don't feel fully free yet. You don't have to wait for a dramatic transformation or some mystical event. These signs are everyday, real-world markers of psychological and spiritual growth. They can show up as moments of calm where there was once chaos, or as new ways of relating to yourself and others that feel honest and grounded. Before we get to these signs, it's important to understand what the shadow really is and how it operates. The shadow is not some external enemy, it is part of you, formed in response to early life experiences and ongoing pressures. It's made of emotional wounds, fears, and unconscious beliefs that have become your default way of handling life. When left unexamined, the shadow takes over your energy, draining your vitality and limiting your freedom. It thrives on keeping you reactive, constantly triggered by people, events, or memories. It thrives on keeping you small, hiding your true self behind layers of defensive behavior. But breaking this cycle starts with simple observation. When you learn to recognize the shadow's influence, you start to peel back the layers of illusion. You reclaim your energy, your attention, and your choices. So, in this video, I will guide you through the 10 signs that show you are moving out of shadow control and stepping into a more conscious, authentic way of being. These signs aren't just abstract ideas. They are practical, lived experiences that you can notice, nurture, and build on. If you've ever felt stuck or overwhelmed by emotions you didn't understand, or if you're longing to be free from reactive patterns, this video is for you. Get ready to see yourself in a new light, one that is clear, honest, and hopeful. In the introduction, we uncovered the hidden shadow that often controls our energy and reactions, pulling strings behind the scenes, masquerading as our true self. Now, the very first sign that this shadow's grip is loosening is something fundamental: emotional independence. What does emotional independence mean? Simply put, it's the ability to feel your emotions without immediately being overwhelmed, triggered, or controlled by them. It means you can experience feelings fully, but you don't let those feelings dictate your behavior or sense of self. For many, emotional dependence looks like reacting automatically to criticism, clinging to approval, or getting swept away by others' moods. This happens because the shadow has conditioned us to survive by attaching our sense of worth and safety to external validation and emotional reactivity. When you begin to develop emotional independence, you notice a subtle but powerful shift. You stop being a prisoner to your immediate feelings. You learn to observe your emotions without merging with them or being hijacked by them. This isn't about suppressing or denying feelings. Rather, it's a mature way of relating to emotions, recognizing them as signals or data, not orders that must be obeyed. It's the space between stimulus and response, expanding, giving you a choice. Why is this so crucial? Because emotional independence breaks the cycle of survival-driven reactivity that the shadow depends on. When you no longer need to react for protection, the shadow's power starts to fade. How does this manifest in daily life? Imagine receiving harsh feedback without your usual defensiveness. Instead of spiraling into anxiety or anger, you might feel discomfort, but stay grounded, listening with curiosity rather than fear. Or when a difficult memory arises, you feel the pain without being swept away by it. This sign is a beacon showing that your inner observer is waking up. You're building the muscle of self-regulation and emotional maturity, the foundation for all the other signs we'll explore. But emotional independence doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, practice, and a willingness to face uncomfortable feelings without running from them. Often, it involves learning to say no to old patterns of emotional codependency and to the habitual need for external approval. In the next part, we'll see how this growing independence leads naturally into observing without absorption, a skill that deepens your ability to witness your inner world without losing yourself in it. For now, reflect. Where in your life have you noticed small moments of emotional independence? Where might you still be reactive? Building on the foundation of emotional independence, the next essential sign you are reclaiming your energy is the ability to observe your inner experiences without absorbing them. In part 2, we talked about stepping back from immediate emotional reactivity, feeling your emotions without being overwhelmed. Now we take that a step further, learning to become the impartial witness to your own thoughts, feelings, and impulses. Why does this matter? Because the shadow thrives when you identify completely with every passing thought or emotion, when your sense of self is tangled in every reaction, judgment, or memory. Observing without absorption means cultivating a space inside where you can notice your mental and emotional states as if watching clouds float by, not needing to chase, hold on to, or push them away. This practice doesn't detach you from your experience. It empowers you to engage with life from a place of clarity and choice. Instead of being pulled into a flood of emotions or stories, you recognize them as temporary events happening within you, not permanent truths defining who you are. Practically, this looks like instructive. Noticing when anger arises without immediately acting on it. Hearing critical thoughts but not believing them outright. Watching anxiety or sadness without letting them consume your entire perspective. This is the cultivation of what many spiritual traditions call the witness consciousness, the part of you that is aware, steady, and unshaken, even amid inner turmoil. As you strengthen this ability, your energy is no longer drained by compulsive identification with shadow patterns. You create an internal refuge where your authentic self can emerge. It's important to emphasize that this isn't a denial of your humanity or emotions. On the contrary, it's a fuller, richer way of being with yourself that includes compassion and curiosity. This sign signals a profound shift from survival mode into conscious living. It's a skill you can develop through mindful practices, journaling, or simply pausing before reacting. Next, we'll explore how this witnessing leads to calm reflection on the past, helping you untangle old wounds that once held you captive. For now, reflect on this. Have you ever noticed moments when you can step back and simply observe your inner world without getting sucked in? That small space is your gateway to freedom. Building on your growing ability to observe without absorption, the next critical sign you are reclaiming your energy is the capacity for calm reflection on the past. Previously, we saw how creating space between yourself and your emotions reduces reactivity. Now you begin to turn that clear, witnessing awareness toward your history, the experiences and memories that shaped your shadow patterns. Calm reflection means you can revisit past events, even painful or traumatic ones, without being overwhelmed or triggered. Instead of reliving them as fresh wounds, you view them with a sense of perspective and acceptance, Why is this important? Because much of the shadow's power comes from unresolved wounds and unintegrated memories. These old patterns keep replaying in your mind and influencing your reactions, often below conscious awareness. When you learn to calmly reflect on your past, you begin to identify the origin of limiting beliefs and behaviors. Recognize how survival strategies were formed to protect you. Feel compassion for the younger version of yourself who had to cope in difficult circumstances. This reflection is not about getting stuck in regret or blame. It's about understanding your story honestly and kindly, allowing insight to replace confusion and suffering. This process often reveals the roots of emotional reactivity you experience. The more you can calmly revisit these moments, the less power they hold over your present. Calm reflection is a cornerstone of psychological healing and spiritual maturity. It requires patience, self-compassion, and sometimes support from trusted guides or therapists. With this sign, your shadow loses its grip because you are no longer running from your past or reliving it unconsciously. Instead, you engage with it thoughtfully and gently, integrating the lessons and releasing old burdens. As this reflective capacity deepens, you will notice a new freedom emerging, the ability to rewrite your internal narrative with clarity and courage. Next, we'll examine how this internal transformation begins to influence your external world through balanced relationships, the fourth sign that you're reclaiming your energy. For now, practice gentle reflection on your past with openness and honesty. This is the groundwork for lasting change. As you cultivate calm reflection on your past, a natural and powerful shift begins to emerge in how you relate to others. This brings us to the fifth sign that you are reclaiming your energy: balanced relationships. Balanced relationships are those where connection and individuality coexist harmoniously. You no longer sacrifice your authentic self to please others, nor do you isolate yourself out of fear or mistrust. Instead, you engage with others from a place of inner stability and respect. Why does this matter? Because unhealthy relationships often fuel the shadow's grip. When you're reactive, you might cling too tightly, become codependent, or alternatively push people away to protect yourself. These patterns keep you trapped in survival mode. Balanced relationships reflect your growth beyond those survival strategies. You begin to set clear and compassionate boundaries, confident, communicate honestly without fear of judgment or rejection, listen deeply without losing yourself in others' emotions. Allow space for both closeness and independence. This shift requires ongoing awareness and courage. It means facing fears of abandonment or conflict and choosing connection anyway, but on your own terms. Balanced relationships also act as mirrors, reflecting your progress back to you. When you engage authentically, you naturally attract people who respect and support your journey. Toxic dynamics lose their hold because you're no longer feeding them with unconscious reactions. Importantly, balanced relationships are not about perfection or always agreeing. They are about respect for mutual growth and integrity, where both parties can be seen and accepted as they are. As you deepen this skill, you'll notice increased emotional resilience and joy in your interactions. This relational freedom confirms that the shadow's control is loosening. Next, we will explore awareness of triggers, the sixth sign, where you sharpen your ability to spot exactly what sets off old patterns so you can respond differently. For now, reflect on your closest relationships carefully. Notice where you feel free and where old fears try to creep back in. This insight is another step toward genuine liberation. Building balanced relationships brings a new kind of freedom. But the path of reclaiming your energy is not linear. Old shadows still linger, often disguised as emotional triggers, those subtle or intense reactions that pull you back into reactive patterns before you even realize it. This is why the sixth sign is so crucial: awareness of triggers. Triggers are emotional flashpoints, words, situations, or memories that activate past wounds and unconscious survival strategies. They can make you feel suddenly defensive, anxious, angry, or shut down. When unrecognized, triggers hijack your responses and keep you stuck in the same cycles. Becoming aware of your triggers means you no longer unconsciously act out. Instead, you recognize the early signs, maybe a tightening in your chest, a rush of heat, or a sudden urge to withdraw, and pause before reacting. This awareness is a game changer. It creates a space between stimulus and response, allowing you to choose how to engage rather than falling into automatic survival mode. Think of it like a mental alarm system, alerting you to when the shadow is trying to sneak back in. The more you tune in, the clearer these signals become. Developing this awareness requires honest self-observation and a willingness to feel uncomfortable emotions without immediately trying to escape them. It's important to remember, triggers are not the enemy. They are messengers pointing to parts of your shadow that need attention and healing. Recognizing triggers gives you the power to respond differently, whether that means setting boundaries, practicing self-soothing, or seeking support. As this awareness grows, you start to regain control over your emotional energy. You become less reactive and more intentional. This skill also enhances your emotional independence and helps sustain balanced relationships because you can engage with others from a grounded place rather than being pulled into old dramas. Next, we will explore the seventh sign, release of old patterns, where the real work of transformation deepens as you let go of what no longer serves you. For now, take note of moments when you feel triggered today. Observe without judgment and consider what these moments reveal about your inner landscape. Building awareness of your triggers sets the stage for a profound shift. The seventh sign that your shadows hold is loosening. Release of old patterns. Recognizing triggers is one thing. Taking active steps to dismantle the habitual emotional and behavioral loops tied to your shadow is quite another. This is where true transformation begins. Old patterns are like worn grooves in your mind and nervous system, etched by years of survival strategies, conditioning, and unhealed wounds. They manifest as recurring thoughts, feelings, or behaviors that keep you stuck in cycles of pain or limitation. Releasing these patterns is not about forcing change or willpower alone. It requires deep, compassionate work, a willingness to face discomfort, to question old beliefs, and to practice new ways of being. This release can take many forms. It might mean confronting painful memories with fresh eyes, setting firmer boundaries with toxic people, or consciously choosing responses that differ from your default survival reactions. The process is gradual and sometimes messy. Old patterns often cling tightly because they feel familiar and safe, even if they cause suffering. Letting go means stepping into the unknown, which can trigger fear or resistance. But this willingness to release is a powerful sign that your authentic self is emerging. It shows that you are no longer defined by past conditioning, but are creating space for new energy and freedom. Importantly, releasing old patterns is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. Each time you choose differently, you strengthen your capacity to live more consciously and authentically. This step connects deeply with the next sign, living authentically, where your choices and actions begin to reflect your true self, rather than the shadow's script. As you continue on this path, remember to be patient and kind with yourself. Transformation is a journey, not a destination. After you've begun to release old patterns, a significant shift takes place. The eighth sign that your shadow's grip is loosening. Living authentically. Living authentically means your thoughts, feelings, and actions are increasingly aligned with your true self, the core of who you are beyond survival mechanisms and conditioned responses. It's no longer about wearing masks or playing roles to fit in or avoid pain. This stage reflects a growing confidence to express your genuine desires, values, and beliefs, even when it feels vulnerable or risky. You start to act from a place of inner truth rather than fear or expectation. Authenticity doesn't mean perfection or rigidity. It means being honest with yourself and others, accepting your imperfections, and embracing your uniqueness. The shadow often keeps us trapped in patterns of people-pleasing, approval-seeking, or self-denial. Breaking free from this means reclaiming your voice and agency. You set boundaries, say no when necessary, and prioritize your well-being without guilt. Living authentically also opens the door to deeper connection with yourself and others because it fosters trust and clarity. When you show up as you really are, relationships become more genuine and fulfilling. However, this is a delicate balance. Authenticity requires ongoing self-awareness to ensure you're not unconsciously slipping back into old roles or reactive habits. It also means embracing discomfort at times. Standing in your truth can challenge long-held dynamics and provoke resistance from others or even from within. But this discomfort is part of growth, a sign that you're moving beyond the shadow's safe but limiting confines into a fuller experience of freedom. Living authentically naturally flows into the ninth sign, inner clarity, where your sense of self and purpose becomes clearer and your decisions feel aligned with your deeper knowing. Embrace this stage as a vital milestone, one that honors both your courage and your commitment to reclaiming your energy in life. Building on the foundation of living authentically, the ninth sign that your shadows hold is weakening is inner clarity. Inner clarity is a profound sense of seeing yourself, your emotions, and your life path with greater precision and honesty. It's as if the fog of confusion, self-doubt, and mixed signals begins to lift, revealing a clearer landscape of who you truly are and where you want to go. When the shadow dominates, your sense of self is fragmented. You may feel lost, uncertain, or caught in cycles of indecision. The noise of internal conflict drowns out your intuition and makes your choices feel heavy or overwhelming. But as you reclaim your energy and dismantle these unconscious patterns, you gain access to a deeper wisdom inside you, a compass that points toward what genuinely serves your growth and well-being. This clarity is not merely intellectual, it's experiential. You feel a quiet knowing, a grounded confidence that helps you navigate challenges without being pulled off course by old fears or reactive impulses. With inner clarity, your goals and priorities sharpen. You begin to recognize which relationships, environments, or habits nourish you, and which ones drain or distort your energy. This clarity also reveals the shadows that remain, not to judge or resist them, but to understand their place and gradually integrate or release them. Importantly, inner clarity fuels presence and focus. You can discern what demands your attention now versus what can wait or be let go. It empowers you to make choices that reflect your true values, rather than unconscious survival strategies. This newfound clarity naturally leads to the final sign we will explore, presence over urgency, where the pace and quality of your attention shift from reactive haste to calm, deliberate awareness. Inner clarity is a beacon on your path, illuminating your personality with honesty and purpose. As you develop inner clarity, you stop measuring your worth by how much you do, how fast you move, or how well you perform. The old hunger to prove yourself, to be validated through achievements, starts to fade. And in its place, the ninth sign of shadow integration emerges, peace over performance. For most of us, performance was survival. We learned early on that love often came with conditions. Be successful, be impressive, be useful, and only then maybe you'll be accepted. So we ran ourselves into exhaustion, chasing approval, chasing goals, chasing an image of who we thought we had to be. But when the shadow loses its grip, that chase begins to slow. You no longer need to impress anyone. Not your parents, not society, not even yourself. You stop confusing doing well with being enough. Your actions are no longer desperate attempts to earn love. They become expressions of who you already are. You may still work hard, still create, still pursue meaningful goals. But now they come from a place of alignment, not pressure. You're no longer addicted to proving your existence through endless productivity. You don't need the next achievement to feel valid. And this creates space for rest, space for joy, space for being, without always doing. You start noticing where your efforts were performative. You begin pulling back from situations where you once said yes out of guilt or fear. You stop striving to be perfect and begin allowing yourself to be real. Peace over performance is not the same as giving up. It's giving up the illusion that your worth is something you must earn through constant effort. This kind of peace is fierce. It's the kind that refuses to betray the self for applause. The kind that lets you walk away from things that drain your soul, even if they once gave you status or praise. And most importantly, this peace is not quiet resignation. It's the strength to act without fear, to move without tension, and to live without pretending. So if you've begun feeling less haste to prove your value, if you're choosing rest without guilt, slowing down without shame, and letting go of roles that never felt real, you're not regressing, you're healing. Now, the final sign that your shadow's grip is loosening is presence over urgency. This sign reflects a fundamental shift in how you relate to time, attention, and emotional reactivity. When the shadow rules, your mind often races, caught in cycles of urgency, impatience, or constant doing, fueled by fear and anxiety. There's a frantic energy to your responses, driven by an unconscious belief that you must act quickly to avoid pain, rejection, or loss. But as you reclaim your energy and integrate the previous signs, you begin to cultivate presence, a quality of calm, steady attention that allows you to be fully here, fully engaged without the need to rush or react impulsively. Presence means showing up in your life with awareness, accepting each moment as it is without judgment or resistance. It's the capacity to tune in your existential vibration to your true self's frequency. This doesn't mean passivity or inaction. Rather, presence grounds your actions in conscious choice rather than knee-jerk reaction. You become capable of responding with wisdom and patience, even in difficult situations. Urgency no longer dictates your pace. Instead, you move through life with a balanced rhythm that honors both your needs and the natural flow of events. This shift drastically reduces stress and emotional exhaustion. You're no longer driven by the compulsion to fix or control everything immediately, but can trust in timing and process. Presence over urgency also deepens your connection to yourself and others. It allows for more meaningful interactions and a richer experience of life's subtleties. Ultimately, this sign represents freedom from the shadow's frantic pull and a step into sovereignty over your inner world. As we close today's journey, I invite you to pause and recognize the subtle but profound changes happening within you. Awareness is the alchemical fire that cooks the self-transformation process. By simply noticing these signs of reclaiming your energy, you are stepping into a larger movement of awakening. You are not alone in this. Across the world, countless others are walking similar paths, facing their shadows and choosing to live more consciously. Together, we form a community of seekers committed to truth and growth. Remember, transformation is not about becoming someone new or perfect. It is a return, a courageous unveiling of the authentic self that has always been present beneath fear, conditioning, and old survival patterns. This process is about peeling away the masks until only your true essence remains, free, whole, and radiant. The journey doesn't end here. It is ongoing, ever evolving. I encourage you to keep exploring, to keep reflecting, and to remain open to what each moment reveals. If this message resonates with you, consider subscribing and joining this growing circle of consciousness. Here we support one another's journeys with empathy, honesty, and shared wisdom. Know this, you have always been whole. The real transformation lies in realizing that wholeness, embracing it fully with all its complexities and grace. Your energy matters. Your presence matters. Your authentic self is your greatest power. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, stay present, stay true, and keep shining your light.